All right. Shalom, shalom. Isa's behind me. So 1 second. First and foremost, I want to give all honor, glory, and praises due to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakudash. I also want to give double honors to the elders and apostles and great millstones, teachers truth and sincerity, and also who rule well. Peace and salutation to the whole elect that scattered from corners of the earth. Which is you so-called Negroes, Latino, Hispanics, Native American Indians, the true Israelites that's coming out that elect nation of Israel that the Lord is dealing with in no other nation. Okay? According to, Psalms 147 in the last two verses. But this lesson is going into, not necessarily a testimony of what I've been through, but you got certain brothers that feel like they can relate to certain men in the scriptures. You got some brothers that be like, oh, Elder Apostle Tar is the Apostle Paul in the reincarnation, which I do not disagree with. You got High Priest Abba Bivens, High Priest Masha, being King David. But like I said, I'm not trying to claim that I'm anybody. It's just you can relate to them. And when I look at Timothy, I look at Joseph, I'll be like, I can relate to him. And especially Joseph, and just jokingly, the brothers didn't never sell me into slavery, but I've been amongst. Now, when you get into certain scriptures, like when you get into Psalms, the 83rd chapter of the nations, the heathen nations that were confederate against Israel. One of them, you got basically everybody that's a heathen, but one I personally don't fuck with, and it's just not just a one-time thing because I tested the waters. That's why you have Shimei Shai, we got our elders that had the experience. And Lord willing, I do a lesson bringing out the scriptures. So basically, it's roughly paraphrasing, but the experience that they go through, because our elders and apostles had the experience of teaching this word. All right? But my issue was always Ishmael. Now, Ishmael was really deep into slavery. Now, when you get into the story of Joseph, when his brothers got sold into slavery, he got sold into slavery by the Ishmaelites. You can read that in Genesis. Okay? But they flocked to him. But at the end of the day, he was a Jake. When you look at these other nations, who do they flock to and who do they mimic the most? So-called Jake. Hey, scriptures say that we are the salt of the earth, when you get into the book of Matthew. Now, when I used to work amongst them, I had this one job. I used to work on semi trucks. Had a beautiful brother, by the name of Malak. He drove by my job one time and he saw me. He's like, oh shit, you work on semis? That's a good job to work on. Yes and no. It's a good job, but is Ishmael will take. Listen, Ishmael will eat the whole pie and leave you nothing but the crust. All right? So you're just working, your normal business hours. No, and mind you, they don't get taxed, because when Ishmael comes over here, they're tax-free for 7 years. You know how, like I said, when you go to Dearborn, if I know brothers from Michigan, around the Detroit area would know, but just outside of Michigan, hey, let me not get it twisted, because I'm pretty sure there's, Arabic cut people of Ishmael that works in different states that is flourishing. But I'm just saying, Dearborn for one. And then, like I said, I used to work at a semi-truck company. Of course, it looked like a semi-truck garage, but how they worked me, at the end of the day, I made that shit look like a fucking library. Everything organized. In another sense, where I used to work at a liquor store, Arabic, in Dearborn, used to, work at, and I'm just thinking I'm gotta just sweep the floors, stocks, things, but they had a basement that was basically 3 basements long. And to this motherfucker, he thought it was like, oh, since you box, I think it's cool for you to move these washers, these dryers, basically using the fuck out of me. He's got to cross the street for his own gain. And took fucking full advantage of it. Well, you box, you shouldn't be tired. But I'm like, okay. Slovakia, where he took full advantage. Where, anyway, he said when you get in the scriptures of Genesis, it talks about Ishmael, the wild man. Okay? The wild man, we're talking about the so-called Arabics, they like to blow themselves up. When you go over their countries, they honestly, I mean, I seen the video. It was your discretion advised, where I seen actually they beheaded somebody. But when they come over here, they act like complete hypocrites and they just forget everything. Right? But to a point, when I used to work for the second Ishmaelite, this dude like abused the fuck out of me. Used me for things that was outside of my I can say what's the word I want to use, job description. Okay? And there was another one. No matter what you do, I used to work, I used to work on some of my trucks, then work at a fucking liquor store, just being the stock boy. And then another one is where I used to clean semi trucks and dump trucks. No matter how fast you clean, no matter how fast you work, you will always just tell me, knock it down, knock it down. I'm like, bro, I can go 200 miles per hour. You will still tell me to knock it down. I can move faster than you. You will still just tell me to knock it down. And to the point where, I caught him disrespecting me. Called me a stupid motherfucker, knowing that I was one of the best of his workers. But Jake, you know how Jake is, it's to a point where we feel disrespected, we getting the fuck on. Because Jake, and especially, The men of the Lord ain't no bitch. We ain't no punk pushovers. All right? And, we just reading and just acknowledging certain men in scriptures like King Solomon. People think, hey, just because he had 40 years of peace, King Solomon wasn't no pushover. Hey, they don't get it fucking twisted. King Solomon was a warrior at the end of the day, too, as well. So this message is getting into, hey, don't offend the men of the Lord from the past. Okay? Because you don't know who you're offending. Right? You don't know, like I said, that's why, the scriptures like Exodus, when it says, basically 2 to 3 generations. Basically, listen, if you're a sinner, you're not going to be guiltless. And, Matthew 1:1, when it gets into reincarnation, you don't know who you could be offending at these times. All right? But, Lord willing, I'm just going to make it short, Lord willing. Hope this video was edifying. And again, it was just a testimony. I want to give all honor, glory, and praises due to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakak. And again, the honors to the elders and apostles at Great Millstone, seeking the truth and sincerity. Just want to close out and say, I'm on to the next lesson. Shalom.